Alright, let's dive into something that's been buzzing in the racing world lately, the IMSA penalty against Kevin Estre after that intense Road America incident. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me just say this: racing is as much about strategy and skill as it is about the unwritten rules of the track. And personally, I think this situation is a perfect example of how those lines can get blurred in the heat of competition. So, here's the deal: Kevin Estre, driving the number 6 Penske Porsche 963, got penalized and put on probation for what IMSA called an unjustifiable risk during the Motor Sports Car Endurance Grand Prix. Now, what makes this really interesting is the context. We are talking about the closing stages of a 6-hour race, where tensions are high, and every move counts. Estre's clash with Jack Aitken ended the race under full-course caution, which is never ideal. But here's where it gets nuanced: was it a moment of aggression, a miscalculation, or just the nature of racing? In my opinion, it's a bit of all three. IMSA's decision to slap Estre with a post-race time penalty equivalent to a 5-minute stop and hold, plus a 2-race probation, feels like a strong statement. What many people don't realize is that penalties like these aren't just about punishing the driver, they're about setting a precedent. IMSA is essentially saying, we're watching, and we're not going to let risky behavior slide. But here's the thing: racing is inherently risky. So where do you draw the line between competitive driving and unjustifiable risk? That's a question I've been pondering since this news broke. Another detail I find fascinating is the impact on the championship standings. With Estre's penalty, the number 6 Porsche dropped from 8th to 10th, while Aitken's number 31 Cadillac moved up to 8th. That might seem like a small shift, but in a championship as tight as this, every point matters. Aitken's gap to second place in the GTP standings increased by 10 points, which could be huge heading into Indianapolis next month. If you take a step back and think about it, this incident isn't just about two drivers, it's about the ripple effects across the entire season. What this really suggests is that racing is as much a mental game as it is a physical one. Estre's probation means he'll have to be extra cautious in the final 2 races, which could either force him to play it safe or push him to prove a point. Personally, I'm curious to see how he handles it. Will he come back stronger, or will the pressure get to him? That's the kind of psychological drama that makes racing so compelling. One thing that immediately stands out is IMSA's statement that further penalties could lead to suspension. That's a big deal. It's not just about this one incident, it's about Estre's reputation and how he's perceived moving forward. From my perspective, this is a critical moment in his career. How he responds to this setback will say a lot about him as a driver and as a competitor. If we zoom out, this situation also raises a deeper question about the culture of racing. How do we balance the need for safety with the spirit of competition? Racing is about pushing limits, but where do we draw the line? I think this incident is a great case study for that debate. It's not just about Estre or Aitken, it's about the sport as a whole and how we want it to evolve. So, what's my takeaway? Personally, I think this penalty is fair, but it's also a reminder of how thin the line is between hero and villain in racing. Estre's actions had consequences, and now he's got to deal with them. But at the same time, I hope this doesn't discourage drivers from going for it on the track. Racing needs that edge, that's what makes it exciting. The real question is, how do we keep that edge without crossing into dangerous territory? That's something I'll be thinking about as we head into the final races of the season. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.